Hey, morning, everybody. Hey, this is Tom Davis, Director of Recruiting with Student Athlete World and coach. And I am getting back into my interview series and all that. And really, I'm happy about having guy JJ Wetherholt, who was a former player of ours at Mars and just completed his freshman year at West Virginia, playing for the Mountaineers in Division I Big 12 baseball. And we're going to sort of go through some Division I baseball aspects. And I figured this is a guy I have a lot of respect for, him and his older brother who played for me. And I figured that he could shed some light and possibly share some great information. Morning, JJ. How you doing?
Morning, man. I'm good. How are you?
Good. So, freshman year at West Virginia, playing baseball for Coach Mazey and everything. Just give a little background. I mean, what led you to West Virginia, and when did you commit, and everything like that?
Gotcha. So they started recruiting me after my freshman year in high school, and they ended up offering me a little bit later into the summer. And it was right before sophomore year when I decided to commit, just because, I'd been there a bunch of times, played in front of the coaches, talked to them a bunch, liked the offer that I got, and just thought it was a good fit for me. So I committed right there before my sophomore year of high school.
How many times did you play in front of them, for them to make a decision, JJ?
So Coach Saban's came to probably close to like 10 of my games. And then I played a couple at their field. So then they would all come out to that. And then Coach Ginther was at a couple like showcases that I went to, like the Ed Santa showcases. He was always there. So there was a lot of times I was in front of them.
Well, cool. So, you just finished, you go in your freshman year, you get there in the fall. Tell us about like your first day on campus and going through the fall ball process and what all that entailed for you.
Yeah, so the fall was definitely a grind. It was tough just because, we were lifting at 6 a.m. in the morning, had classes directly after at 8. Then we would start practicing by 12 or 1, wouldn't get done until around 4 o'clock. Go straight to dinner and then straight to study hall usually. So it was pretty much just wake up, lift, get breakfast, go to class, go to practice, get some dinner, go to study hall, and then go right to bed because you're already tired by that point. And then, like the first day showing up and everything, it's pretty intimidating, obviously, because it's a big school. You don't really know much about it, what goes on. But I'd say just because, like the older guys and everything, they made it a lot easier. So I think every school is going to have that group of leadership that'll help the younger guys get by.
So, coming out, you played shortstop for us at Mars and everything. And, tell us about that, what that was like. I mean, how many shortstops, how many infielders did they have there in the fall and everything? Go through like a position thing and tell us like how many people they had there that were trying to make the ball club.
So I think the first day of practice we had 2 kids at third, 2 kids at short, 2 to 3 kids at short, 2 to 3 kids at second, and then 2 kids at first. And one of the kids by like the second week already got moved to the outfield, one of the third basemen. And I was playing second predominantly when I got there, and then they moved me to third. So we still had 2 of the kids at third. And then one of the shortstops got immediately moved to second. And another like shortstop kind of turned into a utility guy. So they had him working at short, second, first, and third, pretty much everywhere in the infield. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of competition. And it can be stressful that way. But once you realize that, they're your friends and everything, you're just competing with them, not really against them, then you just got to stay in there and just grind it out.
Okay. Something, I mean, that leads into what I know about you and all that. I always tell people when people will ask me, and I'm like, the one thing that I can say about JJ is that he's a very grounded, very in the middle type of kid. He never gets way too low. He doesn't let adverse situations affect him and bring him down, and how he acts or how he goes about stuff. And he never gets too high. I mean, you play the game, I think, the right way, JJ, and I have a lot of respect for it. I mean, you're sort of like what I would say an old school kid. You go out, do your job, you enjoy playing, you have a passion for playing and everything. And so tell us about making it. When did you find out and everything that you were going to be a starter going into the spring?
So they didn't really exactly I didn't really exactly find out before the season. It was kind of just like applied almost. Basically what happened though is I just started playing really third base, and there was one other kid, but he was kind of hurt off and on. So a lot of the guys were like, if he's hurt, like, you're going to be playing, blah, blah, blah. And then we had our exit meetings before Christmas break, and that kid actually ended up transferring. So then when that happened, it was like, I'm the only person who's practicing third base right now. So as long as I stay healthy, it's probably going to be me. And when we did scrimmages too, towards the end of the fall, beginning of the season, we kind of did it almost like starters, non-starters. So I was in like the starters lineups from last year and stuff like that. So going into the season, I pretty much knew, but they never really like sat me down or like, you're starting at third opening day or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, it's you acquired a position through earning it, and through how everything happens and everything. Want to talk a little bit hitting now, because you and I have had many conversations as your brother and all that, and I really think that you really apply yourself to my way of hitting. And we've talked, and it's just like, hey, stay smooth, stay up the middle and everything. Give me a little bit about, I'm going to ask you the word approach, and I know you know what that means, because you have your approach. What is your approach, and does it change from at bat to at bat based on the situation that's there in front of you?
So our coach pretty much preaches there's like 3 approaches, and he talks about just keeping them short and simple. So he just talks about left center field, middle of the field, and right center field. And for me, my favorite one, the one I'm best at, is left center field. I'm just better at like going with pitches the other way than I am kind of like turning and hitting bombs to right field, basically. So for me, any pitcher that we see on Synergy, a righty who likes to throw glove side, keep his fastball outside to lefties, inside to righties, that's the key for me, where I stick to my normal approach. I have all the confidence in the world that I can beat this guy, because I like going left center field, line drives over the shortstop. That's the only time I think about that. And then, every once in a while you'll get like a higher velo guy who likes to bring his fastball in every once in a while. And so in that instance, that's when, the coaches will try to tell me, think about right center field, you got to get the barrel moving a little bit more. So I understand that, but sometimes when I really think about right center field, I get a little too spinny and just get around everything. So even with the higher velo guys who come inside, I still like to try to think just middle of the field, just because my hands are quick enough to stay inside of an inside fastball and go up the middle with it. But, the approaches definitely change at bat to at bat, depending on who's throwing. Situation wise, like with runners on base and stuff, they kind of preach to just stay the same and don't try to do like anything that you wouldn't do with nobody on base. So if a guy's on second, don't try to beat a ball into the ground to right field, try to elevate something and, hit a ball hard. But yeah, it's just keep it super simple like that: left center field, middle of the field, and right center field.
Okay. Do they talk about, when you have second and third and all that, and can talk about them or you? I mean, number one, I know you're an RBI guy, and you know about driving runs in. We've been all through that, and you know that I used to preached at him, hey, you know what? I don't want to lead the WVU in home runs. I want our team to know how to drive runs in and lead the WVU in RBIs. I mean, is that a big thing for you guys as far as, when you have people in scoring position driving runs in?
Yeah, so I would say that the thing that they tell us pretty much is, obviously there's different ways to get guys in. You could just hit a ground ball to second, or if the infield's back, really anywhere. You could hit a deep fly ball, whatever gets the job done. So I think like the hitters individually maybe have like a little bit of different mindsets, each with runners on base, because it can be a little bit stressful sometimes. But the coaches say mainly is just they lots of times they tell us to just like picture that the bases are empty and we're just trying to get a hit. You're trying to hit the ball hard, barrel to the ball, and whatever happens happens. If you hit a line drive out, nobody's gonna be mad at you. And every once in a while, like, you're gonna ground out, baseball's hard and stuff like that. But they really just preach just trying to hit the ball hard with runners on base and runners in scoring position, and just let the flight of the ball take care of it.
Okay, now I'm gonna ask you like another phase of hitting. You've heard the phrase, and you see it now. Yeah, I think, and I know that you watch a lot of Major League Baseball and baseball in general. You think hitters guess on pitches what's coming and everything like that? Are you a guess guy, or are you a see the ball guy?
So hitters 100% guess. I'd say even in the major leagues, some of the majority guess. We had one of our guys who was in the program, who's now in AAA, come back and tell us what it's like in the transition, and he explained, like, in the minor leagues, like, you pretty much have to guess just because people are throwing 5 pitches wherever they want. And another cool thing he said was, like, you can't cover both sides of the plate, so you pretty much just have to pick a location, pick a pitch, and you have to hit that pitch if it comes. And if it doesn't, you got to get the next one. But for me personally, depending on velocity and everything, usually if the guys are like just upper 80s, you should really never guess, because you'll have time to hit everything. But once they start getting to that pretty good like 95, 96 range, and they got a good off speed, you definitely pick up on tendencies. And so before every pitch, you kind of have a feeling of what they're going to throw. I wouldn't say there's lots of instances where I'm dead red on a pitch, like only sitting on that pitch and swinging at it like it's that pitch no matter what, just because that leaves you too many opportunities to look like an idiot pretty much. But there have been times where Coach Mazey's told me before I go up to the plate, like, sit on this first pitch, stuff like that. So I would say definitely people do guess, but for the majority, most of us just stay on the fastball and try to adjust off speed stuff.
Sure. Yeah, it's still keeping it simple. Okay, so tell me about the Big 12. You played at a big high school here in Pittsburgh, and you played on elite teams and everything during the summer and everything like that. What was your biggest adjustment and seeing and going to a big Power 5 conference like the Big 12 and adjusting to baseball play in that conference?
Yeah, so it was definitely tough. It's a complete different level of competition that, I don't even know if there's a way you can really prepare for it. It's that much of a jump. But I'd say for me, it was just the whole of pitchers and the pitching coaches knowing exactly how to throw to you to get you out. Just because the technology they have, they can watch every single one of your at-bats, in college. So for me, in the beginning of the year before conference play, I think people saw me as like a lefty, like, don't pitch him in, because most lefties love stuff in, so they stayed away. And that's, where I lived off of, just going the other way.
Sure.
And so when it got to conference play, the coaches had, pretty much all of them came up with the same game plan of trying to throw maybe some off speed away, but really throw that slider that starts middle and breaks in on my hands, and throw the fastball with that, just to try to have to make me speed up and chase some pitches that I don't usually swing at or get jammed on fastballs. And it was really tough for me. I started hitting a lot of ground balls to the right side and chasing some off speed in the dirt. It was, something that I hadn't really done before. And after a while, the coaches kind of tried to bring me out for early work a lot, just working on getting to that pitch and not rushing and, rolling it over and really just extending through it. And it definitely helped in the long run. And I really picked up hitting in conference towards the end of the year, opposed to the beginning of the year. But that was definitely my biggest adjustment, was just trying to beat the pitching coach's plan. That was pretty hard to beat. That was working against me.
I'm going to ask you sort of a funny thing now, and you'll probably get a smile on your face. Uh, I've worked with a ton of kids, as you know, and I will say one thing I always tell people, and it's funny. Timmy Banner with Brandon and some of the coaches, and Andy and I have talked about it with you. You and your brother, and when I say see the ball, it's so funny because pitches that are really close, that everybody else seems to get rung up on and everything, always seems that you guys get a ball call on it and everything. Like I say, I can see you're smiling. Do you have that good of an eye? I mean, can you pick up? Do you know that it's like that far? I mean, I've watched you play 4 years, and then through summer, and then I was following you, and even a couple times I saw one time where a guy rung you up on an inside pitch, and you kind of stood there for a minute, like, no, that was in and everything like that, but you know. Do you just think you guys have that knack for knowing and being that good to be able to be around the strike zone like that?
Yeah, and I think for me, I mean, like, it's definitely a benefit in some instances, but a lot of times, like, it honestly hurts me just because umpires give a lot more than you would think.
Yeah.
And we have every at bat, our like the pitches, the location gets charted on software that we can go back and see. And there's been countless amount of times where I'll strike out on a pitch, and like I know at that at bat that it's a ball, and I'll go back, and pretty much every single time I look at it, it's a ball. And not like one that's on the corner, one that's a good like 2 balls, 3 balls outside, inside, whatever it may be. There's been like 1 or 2 times where I've thought a pitch is a ball, and you go back and you see it's a strike, it hit the corner or whatever. That's gonna happen, but lots of times it's like I pretty much know exactly where the strike zone is, outside, inside, stuff like that. But, umpires will give pitches like that. So sometimes it's like I wish I would be able to just pull the trigger and swing at them.
I hear you. It's fun. I laugh at it all the time, and I've talked to many coaches about it with you. You guys don't strike out that much. You put the ball in play because I think that your approach and how you do things is great. So I want to get into a little bit of the season now. In season, how tough is it to go and maintain your grades and everything? Tell us what it's like I mean, especially for West Virginia, you guys are in the Big 12. I mean, anywhere you go, I mean, you're crossing the Mississippi. It's not like, yeah, you come and you play Pitt and you play Penn State, but they're non-conference stuff. All your conference stuff, road games are a long way. Tell us about the grind of it's a different grind than the minors and the majors and all that. But tell us about how tough that is.
Yeah, so it's definitely tough. The good thing for me, at least this year, was a majority of my classes were online. So with that, there was no like meeting time that I had to go to. So I wasn't missing much like in-person stuff. But it's definitely hard to keeping up with the assignments and everything. We have like an academic advisor who kind of prints out a list for us usually of like, this is what you have to do this week. So that's helpful, obviously, but it definitely takes a lot of like in the airport, sitting and typing a paper or whatever it may be, doing stuff on game day, like before a game or after a game. There's been times where I've had to do that. Because you got to get the assignments done. And when we're traveling, like there's not much time that we have in between to like, oh, I have this day to do homework. That really doesn't happen. And if it does happen, you're so beat up that you don't want to do homework, obviously. So you're probably going to take that day to just rest. So it was definitely tough. But, I did a pretty good job of it, just managing my time wisely, making sure I got all my assignments in. And, I missed a couple, but I got them done for the most part. But yeah, like traveling so far, every away series is a plane flight and drive from the airport, obviously. So it's a long ways. And I don't think what people don't understand is like with baseball, with football, you got that one game a week that you're going to fly to and travel to, and you're back for the next day or for practices. For baseball, we're leaving a day early. So we're leaving Thursday to play a Friday game. Then we play a Saturday game. Then we play a Sunday game. Then we're flying back, if we're lucky enough, on that Sunday after the game. Get back Monday at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And we got to wake up and play by Wednesday. We'll have a midweek Wednesday. Sometimes we have them Tuesday. So there's very, very little turnaround time. You're kind of always on the go and always playing. So it definitely gets pretty tough.
Going like in season, or when you guys are in season and all that, you just talked about like your schedule now. How often do you guys, practice as a team or in your groups hitting or anything like that, right? Sort of break that down a little bit, JJ.
Gotcha. So the Thursday that we get into a school, we'll have a practice that night, and it's usually just ground balls and batting practice. It's just to like get a feel for the field before the game tomorrow. Then when we get back, that day that we get back, when we get back at like 2 to 3 a.m. So that entire day is like no show day where they kind of don't want you to do much. Sometimes they'll have like open field, what they call it, where they'll just have somebody in the cages doing front toss or something like that. Just so if your body's feeling good enough, you can go get some work in. But that's like a big recovery day where we usually don't meet as a team. So if we have a midweek on that Wednesday, that Tuesday is going to be like the same practice that we had on a Thursday, which is just batting practice, stuff like that. And so it's kind of that cycle. We really only have like a full hard practice if we've got a home series. And so we're rested up, and then we can go on that Monday or Tuesday after the home series and get like a good practice in where we work on stuff like pickoff, space running, something like that.
Cool. When you fly out, now Morgantown is in northern West Virginia, right across the border, but you fly out of Pittsburgh, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, I mean, everywhere that you're flying, you got to make it, an hour and 10-minute ride up to the airport, go through the airport and everything like that. So, I mean, that adds to it. And when I know I came down to see you and some other kids, it was great being down there at the Pitt, West Virginia game at PNC Park, and you, Mikey, and Grant, who had played. I actually saw Jimmy Sattler there too, and everything. And then Jack was DHing for Pitt. I mean, it's so nice to get into it. I think that college still has, the whole baseball element to where it hasn't quite become the all banger game that the major leagues. I look at the major leagues now and it's like walk, strike out, home run.
Yeah.
And it's kind of tough. You guys play a very exciting game. You have kids that can run, and you're always doing it. Talk a little bit about the philosophy of Coach Mazey and what it was with this team and the players he had.
So I think he definitely, he's been in the business a long time. He can definitely tell like what the team's strengths and weaknesses are and what they're going to have to do to succeed. So for us, like we don't have the huge power bats that are going to hit 20 home runs a year, stuff like that. I think we only had one kid that hit double-digit home runs this year. So he knew that going into the season. So for us to score, we're going to have to work counts, get a walk, get a little single, steal base, get in on another single. So stealing was a huge part of that, and it's part mainly because we just had a lot of kids with good speed. And with that too, he says like his big thing is he just wants the kids to be athletes and have fun. So he says he recruits athletes, lets them be athletes and try to have fun. And realistically, it's what we do. Stealing is pretty fun in my opinion. All that crazy stuff like the double squeezes that we would do sometimes where we got somebody scoring from second on a bunt. That stuff's fun. And
you guys love to steal home, third,
that
all
too.
I mean, you run like crazy.
Yeah, we stole home a bunch of times, so that was cool. I mean, if you look at when we get a speed guy on second, like we'll be jumping around like with the pitcher's looks, messing with him. So it's just stuff that we do that we have fun and it works for us. And that's kind of just what Coach Mazey preaches.
Yeah, it's a little. It was funny watching you play, and I like it. I mean, I'll talk to people. I love having the athletes too to be able to do it. And I mean, to talk about. I mean, the whole thing is when you have the athletes like there, and you don't have all the bigger time talent and everything like that. What it does, it's constant pressure and stress on a defense. And I mean, you just can't sit there and take for granted and everything like that. And I think it's exciting that at times, people may question, well, hey, what's going on here and all that. But I just think it's a great brand of baseball. And I know you like playing it. We talked down at the game and everything like that. I mean, you're probably more of a steel guy now than you were in high school and everything else like that, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Let me ask you something. So when we go into that, you guys practice your base running, your looks, everything like that. You have a coach that goes over all of that stuff with you guys?
It's usually, pretty much all the coaches chime in on that stuff, but yeah, we do it a lot at practice. In the fall, I'd say we did it almost every day, like a form of base running.
Oh, that's great. Well, I will tell you what, I appreciate you coming on and talking to us. JJ, as a freshman, was a starting third baseman, played some second, hit 308.
Yeah, I think so.
Hit 308, did some great things, drove in some runs, stole some bases. Okay, so what's your goal for next year? Because I'm going to give you a lofty one and see if you can do it. I'm going to change the 8 and the 0 around. I want you to hit 380. Do you think that's possible?
That would be insane. I definitely want to average up a little bit. I want to definitely slug better. But my biggest thing is I want to get my walk to strikeout ratio to be at least like 1-1. I want to get the strikeouts down and the walks up. So that's a big goal of mine.
Oh, that will come. I mean, you've been there, you've made the adjustment, the expectations and everything like that. Talk about fielding wise. What did you do well, and what are you hoping to sit there and gain next year, JJ?
Gotcha. I think I was really good, like with my hands. I think I've had maybe 1 or 2 like glove errors. Everything else was literally throwing. For me, it was third base was a little bit different just because I'm throwing from parts of the field where I haven't really thrown before. And not to make excuses or anything, but stuff like that is just different. You have less experience. So that's definitely an area that I got to get better at, is just being confident in my arm and being able to throw from anywhere, any arm angle in any situation. So for me, I think it's more of a mental thing, is just really trusting myself and, staying relaxed and just make it a good throw.
Question. Now, do you think you'll go, will you go back? Tucker, he graduate or is he coming back?
He doesn't know yet. He might come back. It's still kind of up in the air, but they actually told me in my exit meeting, they kind of want me to work at second. So that'll be cool.
Okay. That's cool. So now heading on a different part of the field and everything.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate it. Hey, you tell your parents that I said hello. Tell Brandon I said, and even little Bucko there. And
absolutely.
Something that if you need anything, I'm a phone call away, big guy.
Gotcha.
But I appreciate you coming on and sharing some of your info with us.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
All right, big guy.